Craig. And so I'll let you know right at noon.
Okay. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, a public statutory meeting as per the requirements of the Planning Act. I'd like to start off with land acknowledgement. Councillor McMillan.
Yep.
Oh gosh, excuse me.
Land acknowledgement.
Oh. As we gather, we recognize that we're on Treaty 3 lands which are steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations and Métis people today. We continue to be thankful for the partnerships with Indigenous people. We give thanks for the many blessings we enjoy in the city of Kenora. We seek wisdom in our minds, clearness in our thinking, truth in our speaking, and always love in our hearts, so that we may try always to unite the citizens of Kenora. Let these principles guide us in our decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McMillan. The purpose of public meetings is to present planning applications in the public forum as required by the Planning Act. Following presentations by the applicant and our city planner, any members of council will be afforded an opportunity to speak, and at that time, the meeting will then be open to the public for comments and questions. The public is encouraged to read the city planner's planning report in advance of the public meeting, which may clarify questions in advance of the public meeting. Interested persons are required to give their name and addresses for recording in the minutes. Personal information collected as a result of this public hearing and on the forms provided at the meeting are collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments may be collected and may form part of the minutes in which will be available to the public. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the city clerk. Notice was given by publishing in the Daily Miner News, which in the opinion of the clerk of the city of Kenora is of sufficiently general circulation in the area to which the proposed bylaw amendment would apply, and that it would give the public reasonable notice of the public meeting. Notice has also been provided by mail to every owner of property with 120 meters of the subject property, prescribed persons and public bodies, and posted online on the City of Kenora portal. An appeal may be made to the Ontario Land Tribunal no later than 20 days after the day that the giving of notice as required by section 3418 is completed by either the applicant or the person or public body who, before the bylaw is passed, makes oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to the council, and may not be added as a party unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. A notice of appeal can be filed with the city clerk with the tribunal's required fee. An appeal may only be made on the basis that the bylaw is inconsistent with the policy statement issued under subsection 3(1), fails to conform with or conflicts with the provincial plan, or fails to conform to an applicable official plan. No decisions are made at the public meetings concerning applications unless otherwise noted. The public meeting is held to gather public opinion. The council of the city of Kenora will have the opportunity to consider a decision at a future meeting of council. Herein, the applicant will have the opportunity to speak on behalf of the application, and the city planner will provide a summation of the report and recommendation, after which anyone who wishes to speak either for or against the application will be given the opportunity to do so, and a record will be kept of all comments. If anyone wishes to receive the notice of decision of council, please leave your name and address with the city planner. Moving on to the agenda, council declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof on either today's agenda or from the previous meeting or from a meeting in which a member was not in attendance.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I wish to declare direct pecuniary interest as it pertains to this zoning bylaw amendment application. In my personal capacity or professional capacity as a realtor, I'm the listing agent for the current seller of this property and its pending agreement to purchase and sale, which is not yet closed. So I'm going to be recusing myself from the room during these discussions.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Moving on the agenda, item number 1, applications being considered to zoning bylaw amendment, D14-22-03, civic address 1439 Railway Street, registered owner Paulette Michalchuk, agent Kenora Resource Consultants. So the applicant will present their planning application.
Yes, absolutely. I will just share my screen.
Okay.
I'm hoping everyone can see that. Oh, it went away. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Patty. I'm with Kenora Resource Consultants, and as said, I will be presenting or discussing the zoning bylaw amendment for 1339 Railway Street. To the property, it's about 2.5 kilometers east of Kenora City Hall along Railway Street, and the property is designated as commercial development area with an environmental protection overlay, and it's zoned as light industrial and residential second density with a hazard land overlay. And the reason for these, the environmental protection and hazard land overlay is because the property abuts the northeast end of the Lawrence Creek wetland complex. There's an existing 2-story building on the property that was built in the 1990s, and the property was previously part of a severance in 2017 that saw it separated from the Hyundai dealership to the south. And in general, the property is located in a mixed-use area with surrounding businesses being commercial and industrial, and also some residential properties in the area. As you can see here, the property, that one building on the property and property dimensions, is just under a hectare with about 45 meters of frontage onto Railway Street to the west. And then this is just a little diagram of the existing building. You can see the amount of space that's vacant on the subject property at this time. So the proposal here is to rezone the property from light industrial and residential second density to general commercial while maintaining that hazard land overlay for the Lawrence Creek wetland complex. And the purpose of that is to bring the existing uses on the property, which is the 2-story building that you see in the image, where on the ground floor is commercial. It used to be the Degani Enterprises business, and on the second floor it's residential. So the purpose will be to bring that use into compliance with the current zoning bylaw. And while doing that, we'll be maintaining the official plan designation, and there is no other development proposed at this time for the property. In terms of this compliance with the policy framework, the provincial policy statement encourages mixed-use development of this kind, especially when there's commercial or economic development on the main floor or on the ground floor. And so the proposal will be in keeping with that intent. In terms of the city's official plan, the lands are within the settlement area boundary. So they're designated for a wide range of residential, commercial, and industrial uses. And the commercial development area designation specifically allows for a wide range of commercial uses, but also permits residential development so long as there's an existing building or the structure is suitable for residential use. And in this case, the building exists and the residential use is on the second floor. Specifically, the zoning bylaw amendment, the general commercial zone, which is being requested here, permits a wide range of uses and services to meet the needs of residents, businesses, and tourists. And that commercial use on the ground floor. It also permits apartment dwellings so long as the residential units are in a multi-story building are not on the ground floor. So in this case, they're on the second floor. And each dwelling unit in this instance is required to be about 37 meters squared, which each of the existing dwelling units far exceed that, about 75 meters squared each. And the other provisions that are applicable here are the side yard and rear yard setbacks when a GC zone a bit abuts another residential zone. So the requirements there are 5 and 8 meters for the side yard and rear yard setback. And as you can see in the table, the existing side yard setback is double the required, and the rear yard setback is exponentially larger. So in summary, the purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment to go from light industrial and residential second density to general commercial is to bring the existing use on the property that isn't in compliance with the current zoning bylaw into compliance with it. The proposal meets the intent of the provincial policy statement and the state's official plan. It's in keeping with the uses in the surrounding area, and there is no other site development or no other development or site alteration proposed at this time that would change those parameters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on in the process, item number 2, city planner report, Rationale. So we're going to have the city planner to describe the details of the planning application. Kevin, are you, or Adam? Or?
Yes, sir. Yes, certainly. And I apologize if there's a little bit of repetition in here. Mr. Patney has very comprehensively covered a lot of the details here. But turning to my report, so we have this application here to change the zoning of the subject property from ML, light industrial zone, and R2, residential second density zone, with the HL hazard land zone and EP environmental protection zone overlays to general commercial zone with while retaining the HL hazard land zone and EP environmental protection zone overlay. So a bit of history, the request was made for a zoning and building compliance letter pertaining to this property. The existing use was, in that request was listed as commercial with 4 dwelling units on the second floor of the main structure. Those described uses are located on a portion of the property that's currently zoned ML, light industrial zone. And section 4.9.3J of our zoning bylaw states that a maximum of 1 dwelling unit shall be permitted as an accessory use to any permitted use, and the dwelling unit must be occupied by the business owner, caretaker, security guard, or a similar employee, and that applies to dwelling units in the ML zone. So this application for the amendment to the GC general commercial zone would enable the lawful permitting of multiple dwelling units that are located above the permitted uses that occupy the first floor of a non-residential building. The GC zone also permits the future change of use of the main floor of the structure to a recreational or fitness facility, which was described in the application as a possible future use of the building. If approved, section 1.10 of the zoning bylaw will apply, meaning that application for a building permit is required as per the Ontario Building Code, in addition to other relevant policies of the official plan, zoning bylaw, and site plan control bylaw. The existing building is a commercial building previously occupied, as Mr. Penny mentioned, by Degagny Enterprises Incorporated. It fronts on Railway Street and is serviced by municipal sewer and water. Wetland is located on the eastern portion of the property, as mentioned by Mr. Patney. Turning to the provincial policy statement, policy 1.3.1B of the PPS states the planning authority shall promote economic development and competitiveness by encouraging compact mixed-use development that incorporates compatible employment uses to support livable and resilient communities. Under the official plan, the land use of this property is commercial development area with an environmental protection overlay on the eastern portion of the property. In the commercial development area, the continued development of retail commercial uses is promoted in order to serve the residents of the city, Northwestern Ontario, Western Canada, and the Midwestern United States. Permitted uses in the commercial development area are primarily serve vehicular traffic, Residential land use is permitted on a limited basis in existing buildings and structures suitable for residential use. The environmental protection overlay that I mentioned on the eastern portion of the property indicates land is to be protected for environmental reasons, for the protection of groundwater or other environmental reasons. So in this case, that being part of the Lawrence Creek wetland complex. Turning then to the zoning bylaw, the western portion of the property is currently zoned, as mentioned, ML, and the eastern portion is zoned R2, with the eastern portion also largely being covered by the hazard land zone and the environmental protection zone. So the application will replace both the ML and R2 zones of the property with the GC, general commercial zone, while retaining the overlay zones. The GC zone allows for a wide range of uses and services to meet the needs of residents, businesses, and tourists. The HL overlay zone that will be retained identifies lands that are susceptible to flooding or erosion or any other physical characteristic which could cause harm to persons or lead to the deterioration of buildings or structures. And the EP zone remains in place to identify the significant wetland. We did conduct an interdepartmental and agency circulation of the application. The only response that we received expressing any comments was from our building department, who noted that a building permit will be required for the 4 existing unpermitted residential units. Designed by a code qualified designer is required and must accompany the application submission. As previously mentioned, the notice of the application was given in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act. The Planning Advisory Committee had an opportunity to consider the application at their meeting on March 15th of 2022 and has recommended approval. The minutes and relevant resolution of that meeting were attached to my report. As of the date of the report and since, no public comments have been received. So therefore, my evaluation is that the proposed zoning amendment is appropriate to bring the existing use of the property into conformance with the zoning bylaw and to permit the future redevelopment of the property as a fitness facility. The preservation of the HL and EP overlay zones ensures the continued protection of the wetlands on the eastern portion. Both the provincial policy statement and the official plan are supportive of the zoning bylaw amendment, which preserves the land as an employment area and enables commercial use. Site plan control approval will be required due to the change in use of the property to a recreational facility with a residential use in the second story and being partly situated on an environmental protection area. The building division will require a building permit if the property owner wishes to bring the property into compliance with the Ontario Building Code. Obtaining a building permit is not recommended as a precondition of the zoning amendment, as the zoning must change first to allow the dwellings as a use before the permit can be issued. With that, I conclude my report, and certainly would welcome any questions.
Thank you, Kevin. So, well, there'll be a time later for questions of council. Item number 3, public comment. Any person may express his or her views of the amendment, and a record will be kept of all comments. And I don't see, there's no one in chamber, and I don't see anybody on Zoom, so I'll assume there's none there. Item number 4, questions of council, so I'll see if there's any questions of any councillors. No? No? Okay, so item number 5 then, close of public meeting. Meeting is hereby declared closed following all comments and questions at 12:17. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.